What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. We're here breaking down the Wurth 400 at Dover Motor Speedway, aka the Monster Mile. Take place on Sunday, April 28th around 2 p.m. Eastern. And the weather looks good this weekend for Dover, which is a pretty rare sight. But anyway, this happens to be your first time here. What's up? My name is Chris Pennell. I break down NASCAR DFS each and every single week on this channel. Videos on Saturdays, live streams on Sundays. I think the race starts an hour earlier, so probably around noon Eastern is when the live stream will be. So come in, say hi. Always a good time. And really quick, I give a shout out to last week's YouTube comment winner. It's going to be Matthew LaFontaine. I believe that's how you pronounce your name, but you had Gregson at 75 and you were the closest of anybody. And if you want to win this week or enter, all you got to do is comment down below who you think is going to lead the most laps and how many, and the winner will get a cash prize. And if you do enjoy today's video, make sure you like down below, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and dive right into it. All right, so let's talk some strategy here for Dover. It's a pretty unique track. It's 1 mile in length, concrete surface, which there's only other 2 tracks that have a concrete surface, and that's going to be Nashville. That's a bit of a flatter track, and it's pretty much an intermediate. Then we have Bristol, which I've always called Dover Bristol's bigger brother because it's a concrete, steep surface, but it still has its own uniqueness to it. Dover does have some tire wear as well, which always makes it a little bit more interesting. And we have 400 laps this week, which means downer points are going to be very important. If we take 70% of that, that is about 280 total downer points available to us. So at the very least, you're going to want 2 dominators per lineup this weekend. If you're looking for similar tracks, like I just mentioned, you can look at the other concrete surface tracks like Nashville and Bristol. And other than that, maybe Darlington, because it's kind of an intermediate, kind of a short track. It's steep and it has some tire wear, but it's also not concrete. So what I am doing, I'm looking at those tracks I just mentioned, and then I'm looking at the other tracks that we've been at this year that have ran the intermediate package at the intermediate. I think that's the best we can do, but honestly, just looking at practice, qualifying, and things like that will probably be the most important thing, as well as Dover track history in the past. And finally, moving on to the driver by driver breakdown, I do have to mention one thing first. That is, of course, if you want to join the best NASCAR DFS community out there, link is down below in the description for that or in the pinned comment. But you get projections to both sites, my entire NASCAR model, which is more than I show you over on YouTube, my optimizer, ownership projections, cheat sheets, articles going over cash games, tournaments, and my bets, and my entire betting model, and access to the Discord community, which is popping 27. It's the easiest way to get access to me. And I do include Xfinity and truck projections now and baseball each and every single day. So if that is something that will interest you, you know where to find it. Link can be found down below. And as you may know, I'm a partner with Stokastic, and they did launch their NASCAR Sims tool among other sports. And you can use their entire contest and pre-contest simulator to help you find which drivers have the best return on investment and which lineups take up the best in tournaments. You can upload my own, theirs, or your own custom projection data set and use it to your advantage on Sunday. So if you want to check it out, you know where to find it. Link can be found down below in the description, and make sure you tell them I sent you. All right, it's the next day, and practice and qualifying just ended a few moments ago, so we're going to run through the entire slate together for the first time. Like I said, just ended, so I've not yet run projections or anything like that. Just my first initial thoughts on the entire slate, and the more updated and polished stuff will be on the Patreon later this evening and the live stream tomorrow afternoon. And very interesting starting grid. A lot of big names qualified much more poorly than where I would have expected them to, so going to be kind of interesting. Kyle Busch on the pole, wasn't expecting that. And then you also had Ryan Blaney on the front row. So, like I said, pretty interesting slate. So, kind of excited to see where my thought process goes on these guys. But we'll start up top in the 5-figure range. 3 guys in the $11,000 range. And Kyle Larson's up top at $11,500, $14K over on FanDuel. He's starting all the way back in 21st. These are not the most up-to-date odds. These are before practicing qualifying, and I imagine these will shift a little bit. So if you're waiting to bet on Kyle Larson, I'm sure those odds will probably go up a little bit for where he qualified. He wasn't the best car in practice either, but he's starting all the way back in 21st. And this is a guy that's going to have race winning upside pretty much everywhere we go this year, maybe outside of a super speedway. So starting in mid-pack, I definitely think he's in play. The issue is we just have so many other guys like Christopher Bell starting in 33rd, Ross Chastain starting in 22nd. You also have William Byron, Denny Hamlin, who look like they have the best cars in the field this weekend, who can dominate starting up front. So while Kyle Larson looks like a good play starting in 21st, it's just you can't play everybody here. But I'm in a 150 max setting or 20 max, I will be mixing and matching at least 2 of these drivers together in the majority of my lineups because it looks like we're just going to want them. You can kind of add in Chase Elliott in that mix as well, starting back in 29th, and he's only $100 less than the 5-figure range. So if we're looking at practice times, and I don't really think we have to stagger the groups too much. I do have Group A in the yellow, and as you can see, it's pretty scattered, so it didn't look like one group had a major advantage. But if we're looking at the best cars in each group, I just have it average from the 1 through 10 lap runs. William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain for Group A, and then Group B, Blaney, Reddick, Elliott, McDowell, and Christopher Bell. But looks like it's pretty scattered here. So Kyle Larson, 21st in the 1 lap. I don't really care about the 1 lap too much. But in the 5 lap, 6th, and 13th in the 10 lap, his teammate William Byron was exceptional, and Chase Elliott was pretty fast as well. So I don't think Kyle Larson is going to be slow. He should be able to find some speed. The issue is at his price point, he's going to have to dominate, which obviously is something Kyle Larson can do. And if we're looking at the data set that I'm looking at this weekend, Dover is a pretty unique track, so we don't have a ton of sample size to use, especially in the next gen era. So it's kind of sporadic. So 5 race sample size for the first section here would be the Dover next gen races plus the 2024 intermediate package races we have had, although I believe I excluded Phoenix. I'm pretty sure they use that, but I didn't want to use the short flat track. So that's the data set number 1, and then data set number 2 is just 18 race sample size for similar tracks and intermediates. Then we have the season data, including next year. So kind of all over the place. Obviously, Kyle Larson's going to grade out well pretty much everywhere. And if we're looking at the similar tracks intermediates, Kyle Larson, the second most downer points, only right behind Denny Hamlin. And if we're looking at this data set with Dover, which Kyle Larson probably had the best car at Dover last year, but ended up getting taken out when Ross Chastain moved up. I believe it was Brennan Poole up the track, ended up hitting him. So even though he doesn't look like he has the best car on paper on Saturday, I'm sure they'll make some adjustments. The 5 team is excellent at that. So he's going to be in the player pool. But at that price point, you're going to need some dominator points, but I don't think that's out of the question. Martin Truex Jr. kind of in the same category as Kyle Larson. At these price points, you need to get up front and dominate. Truex was fast in practice, 4th in the 10 lap, 13th in the 5, but like Kyle Larson, lacked single run speed, but long run speed, so it's going to be the most important. Now, if I had to pick between the two, I would take Larson because he starts 6 spots further back and he tends to be more dominant than Martin Truex Jr., but they are pretty close, and Truex did win this race last season. Then we have William Byron, Denny Hamlin, who I kind of want to group in as the same plays as well. So I think we can kind of section, just kind of eyeballing here, I think we can section these guys off. So Larson, Truex are kind of in their own group where they're starting mid-pack, but have race-winning dominator potential. William Byron, Denny Hamlin, no PD upside, but they do have that race-winning potential, and it looked like they had the 2 best cars in practice. If I had to pick a winner, I would say it probably comes from one of those 2, and fortunately enough for me, I did bet on Denny Hamlin earlier in the week. 2 top 5 at plus 140 and to win at plus 800, and I assume when new lines end up dropping, I will feel pretty good about the numbers that I got. So I don't think I'd play both. If you want to get really different and fade all the place differential up here and just play William Byron, Denny Hamlin together, hope they lead half the race and finish 1-2. That is a way to go, but it will be very risky. But I do like in tournaments to have one of these 2 in my lineups because you're going to want the dominator. Like, sure, there is a ton of good place differential plays, but if William Byron comes out here at least 200 laps and wins the race, maybe Christopher Bell finishes 5th, but you'd much rather have William Byron in that scenario. So I think starting your lineups in tournaments with one of those 2 will probably be a really strong way to go. Byron was 2nd in the 5, 1st in the 10, and 1st in the 15, although not many ran 15 laps. And Denny Hamlin was also 2nd in the 10 lap. So both those guys look extremely strong and will probably be the cars to beat, I imagine, which is what's going to give me a little bit of hesitation on going too crazy on guys like Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney, who started in the front row at cheap price points. Should see in practice, but I just feel like those guys are much stronger and we'll probably end up passing them at some point. Then Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, all these guys are going to be in play. Christopher Bell just spun in qualifying, so that's why he's so far back. But he had decent speed in practice, 5th in the 10 lap and 10th in the 5. Ross Chastain, very good at Dover and top 10 across the board in practice for the 1 and 5 lap, and then 19th in the 10. Starting in 22nd, though, he should be able to move up. We're looking at similar tracks here for the Dover races in the next gen era and intermediate package so far this season. Ross Chastain, very strong green bars here and should be a contender, but with Christopher Bell starting 11 spots further back, it's just kind of easy to get to him. And then Chase Elliott, great on concrete tracks. He's a little bit cheaper, $900, starts 7 spots further back. If I had to rank them, I'm probably going Bell, Elliott, Chastain, but they should project somewhat similar for me. Really can't make a case against any of them. And Chase Elliott, off a win at Texas a couple weeks ago in the intermediate package. Wasn't the most dominant car, got a little bit lucky with some cautions, but still put himself in a good position to win the race. And he has been getting better this year, and he was fast in practice. So kind of just put these guys in sections, like Larson, Truex together, Byron, Hamlin, then Bell, Chastain, Elliott, kind of all the same plays in those categories. And then we get into some weirder plays here. Ryan Blaney at $9,600, he's starting in 2nd. Typically not his best track, although last year at Dover, I believe he started 3rd and ran the whole race in 3rd, if I remember correctly. So had a pretty decent race for Ryan Blaney. Starting in the front row here, him or Kyle Busch could lead some laps early on, but like I said, the issue with playing any of these 2 guys, it's just William Byron's going to be breathing down their necks, and I think he's got the better car overall. He's got the better pit crew of anybody. And Kyle Busch just tends to be very, very iffy on pit road as far as being able to trust him. And he did start in the pole at Dover last year. Did have the competition caution because this race ended up running on Monday. I believe he had a speeding penalty and just had a horrible day after that. So I think Blaney can run well. He was 1st in the lap in practice and 1st in the 5, 10th in the 10 lap, though. I would say it's likely he doesn't really dominate and fades back a little bit. And at his price point, it's just so much easier to get to the guys right above him, Bell, Chastain, and Elliott. Bowman, very good here at Dover. I think he's going to be a better FanDuel play at only 8,200 bucks. As you can see, a pretty big price discrepancy there. I think he will be a value over there. 22nd in 1 and 5 lap in practice, 15th in the 10. I think he could be a top 10 driver. So at DraftKings, that's really hard to get to at 9,300 bucks, but on FanDuel, he is in play just for the high finish. And Kyle Busch, he is the question mark of the week. If you think he can lead half the race or stage 1 and stay within the top 10, that's going to keep him in play at $9,000. Like I said, he has been a very tough guy to trust, and they have not been running very well recently. So he's a really tough question mark this week because I don't feel great about it. On FanDuel, I don't really see any reason to play him at 9,500 bucks because the dominant points just aren't going to add up enough. 9,000 bucks on DraftKings though. I mean, if he can lead a decent chunk of stage 1 and stay within the top 8 all day, like that could get you there. But again, it's going to depend on what some of these place differential drivers do. And if he ends up getting passed early on and he ends up fading to like 10th or 12th or has any issue, he's going to kill your lineups. So I wouldn't say he's the safest play in the world. I feel better about him at a track like this than I would a short flat track because they've just been absolutely terrible at those track types. So I feel like I'll end up being underweight on Kyle Busch though, and especially over on FanDuel. I don't think I'm going to have a ton of interest there. Very tough decision this week though, so I'm curious what the projections will say on him, but I assume Hamlin and Byron will end up being the top dominator plays for me. Obviously, that comes at a massive price difference, so we have to factor that in. Then moving down to the 8K range, we have Joey Logano, 8,800 bucks. He's starting at 13th. Practice, 13th in the 1 lap, 8th in the 5, 22nd in the 10 lap. I don't really think he's going to be a big contender in this race. On FanDuel, he's pretty cheap at only 7,800 bucks. DraftKings just don't really see myself having too much interest there. We're looking at Dover and intermediate so far this year. 18.6 running position. Driver rating's really bad and only 1 top 10 finish. So I feel like we could probably get away from Joey Logano. I'd much rather play Ty Gibbs, 8,500 bucks. The price has come down once again, so we are getting the cheapest JGR car in the field, and I will take it. Starting in 19th, 17th in the 1, 21st in the 5, but 3rd in the 10 lap. And at similar tracks this year, he's definitely showed some speed. For a sample size, average finish of 10th, running position of 9.6, and 101.4 driver rating. So I will be in on Ty Gibbs this weekend. Just because of the starting position, starting in 19th, he should be able to be a top 10 contender, and at that price point, I would take it from a JGR car. Tyler Reddick starting in 4th. Kind of throw him in that same group as Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch as like second tier dominators, but he's at a much cheaper price point, only 8,200 bucks. And Tyler Reddick has had plenty of speed in this package this year. 2nd in the 1 lap, 7th to 5. Tyler Reddick's got plenty of talent. At that price point, he is 100% in play for tournaments. Chris Busch is starting in 18th. We can probably just throw the RFK cars together. Brad Keselowski starting in 24th. They usually run pretty similar. Looking at practice, 10th for Chris Busch on the 1 lap, 15th for Brad Keselowski, 16th in the 5, and 35th in the 5 lap for Brad Keselowski. But he's just one of those guys I don't really care about practice too much. He always seems to find a way, hanging around the top 15 somehow. Like at Texas, he was one of the absolute worst cars in the field to start the race, and somehow he ends up finishing the race 2nd or 3rd. And 5 race sample size for Keselowski, as you can see, average finish of 9.2, running position of 14.3, and some pretty good finishes overall. So if you're in this price range for PD, I don't mind it, but I'm not going my way to play the RFK cars this weekend. But Wallace, 7,500 bucks. He's starting at 16th. Looks like he's probably going to run similar to that, so I don't see a ton of upside for Busch or for Bubba Wallace. 18th in the 1, 20th in the 5, 21st in the 10 lap. And really just a bunch of meh plays here, like Josh Berry starting in 12th. Not a ton of interest there. If you're looking at practice, 14th, 17th, 8th. I know he's fast at Bristol, which is another concrete surface, but that was a whole chaotic race and tires were going everywhere. Chase Briscoe, 31st in the 5, 23rd in the 10. Like, I don't know. I just don't really see myself getting to this range too much. No Gregson starting in 5th. Just going to be really hard to get to any of them. Austin Dillon, 6,800 bucks. He's starting in 23rd. Looks like that's where he's going to run based off of practice. Suarez, the worst 5-lap run. Maybe something happened there. I had to look at the lap times. So 28th in the 1st. So it didn't look like he had a lot of speed anyway. But at his price point, he should be able to move up at least somewhat. If you're looking at his 5-race sample size here in this data set, running position at 21st, average finish at 16.6. A couple of top 15s mixed in. Like, I don't think he's going to have speed. Ross Chastain didn't have a ton of speed either. But he's cheap enough to where if you just need PD right here, he'd probably be one of the preferred options. Michael McDowell probably outqualified himself a bit. He's been great at qualifying this year. 6th in the 1 lap, 5th in the 5, and then 17th in the 10. I would say it's likely he moves back because you have so many other drivers that qualified behind him that are going to have to move up. Gibbs, Chase Elliott, Ross Bell, Byron, or not Byron, but Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson. Say it's a likely candidate to move back. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting at 17th, slower in practice. Another guy where Probably going to finish somewhat close to it. In this data set, he actually has some decent numbers. 3 top 20s in 5 races, 18.3 average running position. So if he could just hold ground, it's not the worst. Maybe he doesn't go a lap down early on. That'd be the saving grace. But again, there's just really not many standout plays here. I'm hoping there maybe someone pops up and might get a little bit lower, but it's looking pretty dim below. Honestly, below the 8K range, it just looks pretty bad down here. Maybe besides Suarez, but other than that, it's not amazing. Ryan Preece, though, showed a little bit of speed in practice. 14th in the 10, 18th in the 5. He's starting in 28th. Looking at similar tracks here. Running position of around 20th place. So I think he would be in play at $6,400 for some PD. So there's one decent play, at least on paper. Jimmy Johnson. Just can't really seem to finish a race in this next-gen era, although we all know Dover was an excellent track for him back in the day. I believe that he said he has 11 wins here, which is insane. Obviously, that was quite some time ago. I was probably still in middle school. But 5th in the 1 lap, 12th in the 5, and then the worst of the 10 lap runs. I'd say he'd probably be lucky to get a top 25 run here. So don't really see too much upside there. I hate to keep saying the same thing, but I just don't really see much potential out of these guys. John Hunter Nemechek should be able to move up some spots at least, but I feel like he spins almost every single weekend. But 24th in the 5 and 18th in the 10. I think John Hunter Nemechek is in play here. Carson Hocevar starting in 20th. I know he doesn't have the PD of these guys right above him, but he'll probably be able to run well. 23rd in the 1, 15th in the 5, 7th in the 10, and 2nd in the 15, which not many guys are in that. But 7th to 10 I thought was pretty impressive at only $6,000. And if you're looking at this, average rank position around 19.7, average finish just inside the top 18. So I think Hocevar is in play. He's not going to have that same PD, but I think the finishing position upside is a little bit better there. AJ Allmendinger, he's going to be starting in 10th. Similar to his 1 lap run in practice, but then worse than the 5 and 10 lap runs. Probably going to fade back. I mean, colleague obviously has not been super impressive this year. Corey Heim filling in for Eric Jones this weekend at $5,800. He's starting in 32nd, kind of right around where he practiced for the first through 5 lap runs. But then 12th in the 10 lap. Obviously, he doesn't have a ton of experience in the next gen car, which is what is going to concern me a bit. We know he's super talented, does amazing in the truck series, and I think in several years, I mean, Corey Heim should be a factor in the Cup Series at some point. So if you're going to take a flyer on him, you can, but I just worry about the lack of experience in this car because I was listening to his interview and he did say it's quite a bit different and he wish he had a longer practice to get used to it. Cindric, I just can never play him starting this far up. LaJoy, extremely slow if you're looking at practice, 37th, 34th, and 25th. Gilliland, a little bit of speed there, 26th, 19th, 16th. Those front row cars have definitely had some juice in them, so I would say he's probably a fringe play. Justin Haley in 36, slow. I don't really see much speed there. Zane Smith, okay, so $5,300. I think we finally found one of our viable pump plays at least. So 24th in the 1, 14th in the 5, 9th in the 10 lap. He wrecked in practice, that's why he's starting all the way in the back. But I think he should be a top 30 contender because we don't need much. It's not like we need Zane Smith to come out here and run P17. Would that be great? Yes. But is that going to happen? Very most likely no. But starting in 37th, dead last, at $5,300 and showing a little bit of speed in practice, I will not get picky. I will take it. Obviously, his numbers this year have been pretty horrible in this data set. 29.6 average running position, 32.7 average finish. But honestly, if he ran 29th, I would take that at that price point. So Zane is in play. Daniel Hemrick, no chance I play him starting in 14th. Harrison Burton, I think you all know the drill. Never. And Kaz Gralla almost killed himself in practice today. Thankfully, he's all right, but I don't really see him being much of a factor in this race. So I feel like I shamed almost every cheap driver, but I mean, they just look really gross. I would say the ones on the eyeball test that at least passed that test would be Zane Smith, Carson Hocevar, John Hunter Nemechek, Ryan Preece looked somewhat decent, maybe even Ricky Stenhouse Jr., but it's ugly down here. Just got to make sure you know your guys up top and then just hope your lineup fillers will get there. But I feel like Carson Hocevar probably has the best potential to try to get a top 15. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys this week. So hope you did enjoy. And if you didn't, either way, make sure you leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. Make sure you check out the last stream tomorrow, probably around noon Eastern. And if you have any more questions, leave them down below. And don't forget to enter the comment contest. Tell me which driver you think will lead the most laps and how many. And the winner will get a cash prize. Go check out all the extra content. In order to find it, link can be found down below. I feel like I've said that 3 times now, so we're going to end it with that. But wish you the best of luck. I'll see you all next time.